everyone. This is April Garrett with Seniors Blue Book. And today on Senior Care Spotlight, we have the owner of Hope Grows, Lisa Story. How are you doing today, Lisa?
I'm doing well. I'm actually sitting outside of the Iris Respite House and enjoying all the sounds of the fountain and just the birds and the wind. And yeah, it couldn't get better than this.
I love it. I have done no interviews outside, but I'm like, with Lisa, I have to sit outside. So, and of course,
Aw,
it's really windy today, so we're going to give it a shot.
okay, sounds good.
All right, so why don't you tell us a little bit about Hope Grows for the audience out there who is not familiar with it and how it came to be, because I love the story.
Oh, sure. Thank you, April, for that. So I'm the founder and executive director of Hope Grows. We were incorporated in 2010. We became a charity at the end of 2012. And so that we are in our, seventh or eighth year, I'm not sure where we're at there, but it actually came to be from my own work out in nature and through grief and my own grief. From the loss of my father, I retreated to nature, which was not unusual. My dad was an avid outdoorsman and taught me the love of the outdoors, but I retreated in a different way by digging in the earth and creating a garden, my very first ever vegetable garden. And from there, I just started to feel this mind, body, spirit connection that I just never did before. And from there, I just kept evolving with that feeling and also talking to my dad in his spirit, which then he came to me in a dream and had me walking through a beautiful, lush garden. And every time I looked up at the sun rays, I saw his face smiling down at me. And when I woke up from that, the words I uttered was "Hope Grows." And that just was the start of the evolution of providing support to family caregivers. And basically where we're at now is we cultivate caregiver wellness. But the whole concept of this idea of providing family caregiver support evolved more than just maybe providing mental health or emotional health counseling to all the different services and programs we have. It evolved into turning our personal home into an overnight bed and breakfast for caregivers to take a breakaway overnight. We're not quite there yet to open the doors, but just a little teaser where we've got some things coming up for the middle of July that I hope everybody will connect and tap into then. But I don't know, one day I was in one of the gardens that we had developed, and I said to my husband, why don't we turn our home into a bed and breakfast for family caregivers? And you have to meet my husband to know that he just looked at me like I had lost my head. And it took him a while to come on board, but we have since learned that we are zoned here for a bed and breakfast, which we never knew that when we bought the property to build the home of our dreams. And since in December received the zoning permission to be able to do this. So from there, I also learned, which I think is another huge divine piece to this whole concept of overnight respite care, is that we were the last 2.5 acres to buy property from a 14-acre plot that these owners had. And they were actually willed the 14 acres, but we didn't realize why they were willed the acreage until after we had decided to go forth in pursuing this overnight concept, is that they were willed the acreage because they were the caregivers of the landowner at the end of her life. So for me, it just, there's the need, but there's also that purpose-driven life that I now have from that. So
fantastic. So can you just share with everybody, if you are a caregiver in Pittsburgh, what is the best way to connect with you, but also go into a little bit more detail about what kind of services you provide, and is there a cost for the services?
Sure. The best way for somebody to reach out is either to go to our website, hopegrows.net, and fill out the contact form or the caregiver referral form, or call us at 412-369-HOPE. And but I always say that when somebody calls, a caregiver calls for our services, they go to our intake care specialist, and she asks a variety of questions to figure out like what best programming and services of ours would best fit for that caregiver. I'd say probably 90% of our services are of no charge to the caregiver. Obviously our mental health counseling, there is there are costs involved with that, as it is going to any mental health counseling service. But we work with the caregiver. So if we're not subscribed to their insurance, we'll just take their copay as payment in full. But if they can't even afford their copay, we get donations that go into our clinical piece of what we do to offset those costs for that caregiver. So, the best program I think we have is our phone check-in program. It's called Think Caregiver. And it's where if a caregiver opts in, they can receive a monthly check-in phone call from our volunteers and our trained interns and staff. And it's just very low key. It's just calling in and saying, hi, how are you? The Hope Grows here, just checking in. Is there anything that you need? Sometimes a caregiver doesn't even answer the phone, and that's okay. But we leave a message, and we'll get a couple months later a caregiver calling back saying, I'm so sorry I never called back. And we're like, that's okay. That's not what it's about. We just figured if you needed something, just know that we're here. You can call us and let us know what you need. So basically that's sort of the entrance into all of our services. We do offer a yearly, it's called Celebrating You. It's a day of fun and relaxation for caregivers to attend. They get breakfast and lunch, and they get to participate in all different kinds of fun, just activities. It's for them to have a day of rest, basically. And that's held in October. That's, I think, a $10 cost, and that's just to help offset the food. And, it's a great day for caregivers to just have a day to put their feet up and do what they want to do. And then at Thanksgiving, we do turkey meals. So caregivers can sign up to receive actual turkey meals from Bob Evans. It's a complete meal that's already cooked. It comes cold. You can put it in your refrigerator and bring it out 2 days later. We deliver 2 days before Thanksgiving. That's another one of our big things that we do for caregivers. That they seem to love. And there's no income attached to that, because it's not about not being able to afford that dinner. It's about having that strength and energy to cook that dinner.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So during these challenging times, offline, you and I were talking about, you know, not only COVID-19, but also the riots and just the chaos in the world right now. Are you getting a lot of calls from caregivers? What kind of calls are you getting from caregivers, I guess would be the better question.
Yeah, during COVID, our caregivers were kind of quiet. We were calling them and leaving messages. Very few were actually, engaging. Of course, though, we did have, our mental health counseling did pick up during that time frame. And I think it was just more this isolation, this need to take a break, and this need to get help that they were getting but then couldn't get because of the obviously the shutdown of everything. And right now, I think there's a lot of perhaps just uncertainty and fear, that of coming back out into public, because their biggest concern, just as the professional caregivers' concerns are, is getting the illness themselves and then bringing it home to their loved one that's sick. And so they're very cautious, very just a fear. There's just fear, isolation, loneliness. So I'd say those are probably the biggest things that we're hearing and seeing. And but also there's that desire to get out. There's that desire to want to come and take a break away. And we keep inviting caregivers to come to the gardens, because they can just walk through the gardens if they wanted to. All they have to do is call us and let us know they're coming during the week, normal business hours. And then every last Sunday of the month, we have a garden walk that for 2 hours, anybody in the public can come and walk through the gardens, sit on a bench, relax, put your feet up. And I think there's an interest in engaging in that aspect of getting into the public without getting into the public, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and the weather has been beautiful, so.
It has, and the gardens here are just, everything is really starting to come alive. If you've not seen any of our weekly videos that we do, that can be through the YouTube, our Hope Grows YouTube channel. Boy, that's a mouthful to say. And but yeah, we do a weekly video. I usually am the one narrating, but I take you for a walk through the gardens. So if you can't physically get here, at least you can get there virtually at this point. And I know for you, April, that was the first time you had ever engaged in Hope Grows. You had come to an event of ours and you walked through the gardens. And when I just remember your one comment, because that was the first time I had met you, you said, "Oh my gosh, nothing relieves my stress, but this sure did." And since then, we've developed such a great relationship.
It's fantastic. It is. Everybody needs to go visit your gardens. I love it.
Thanks for that. Reach out through the website or our phone number. We're here to help. We've got quite a few counselors and interns in training in the counseling field that are here willing to walk through the gardens with anybody and sit on a bench and have a conversation. I encourage you to reach out. I know it's hard. It's hard for a caregiver, I think, sometimes to take that step, but know that we are here to provide you that support that's so needed at times. I think that's probably the lasting message, and also, connect with nature. Nature is one place that we are able to surrender control. And I think the more you engage in nature, the stronger you're going to feel. So there's an airplane going above.
I know. There was one that passed me earlier too. I'm like, oh, there
Although
haven't been that many, so I'm like, of
I
course.
know, I'm not complaining. Like, yay, let's keep flying. My husband's in the airline industry, and I'm like, oh my gosh, get flying, people.
Well, thank you so
So when
much.
we hear it lately, we're shouting for joy.
No, exactly. That's funny.
So anyway,
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We'll make sure we connect again so that we can talk about some of your upcoming events. But in
okay,
the
great.
meantime, we'll definitely make sure that we communicate the best ways to get a hold of you.
Awesome. Thank you
All
so
right.
much, April, for this opportunity. It's a pleasure knowing you. You're doing a great job.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa. You take care and stay well.
Yes, yes, you too.
All right. Thanks.
All right, bye now.
Bye.